Most people have it backward. They believe the world they see, buildings, the money, the relationships, the headlines is the cause. But the visible world is not the cause of anything. It is the effect, the reflection, the printout. The real cause lies in the unseen. The invisible world, the 4D world, is where everything begins. You are not here to react to what you see. You are here to create what you see, and you do that by controlling what you accept as true inwardly. The outer world is a mirror, and it has no choice but to reflect what you are conscious of being. If you believe you are poor, no amount of effort will lift you into lasting wealth because the root remains unchanged. If you believe you are unwanted, no amount of chasing will bring lasting love because you are planting seeds of rejection, and that's the harvest that must follow. Everything begins in the mind, but not just as a thought. A fleeting thought is not enough. It must become an assumption, a deep, quiet knowing that this is who I am now. Once assumed, once felt deeply and accepted as truth, it begins to harden into fact. That's the law. It works whether you know it or not, whether you apply it wisely or let it run wild. The unseen world is governed by feeling. It responds not to pleading, not to begging, not to wishing, but to assumption. What you feel to be true, even if all evidence denies it, is what will eventually be shown in your world. And so, when you desire a new condition, you must turn your attention away from the facts around you and go within to feel the new truth. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not as something to be achieved, but as something that already is. You may look around and see reasons why your desire seems impossible. That is only the echo of your past assumptions. The world you see now is simply the result of what you previously believed. It is not prophecy. It is history, it is old news, and it has no power except the power you continue to give it. To create something new, you must withdraw your attention from what is and place it fully on what you choose to be. This is not denial, it is creation. You are not lying to yourself. You are aligning yourself with a higher truth, the truth that what you feel inwardly will become what you experience outwardly. So understand this. You are not here to wait for something to happen. You are here to cause it. And the cause lies in your awareness, your self-concept, your inner conversations. The jackpot, the love, the success, it does not start out there. It begins in the unseen. It begins with you. Everything begins with a state. You are not manifesting things. You are selecting states of consciousness. Everything begins with a state. Before anything appears in your world, you have first entered into a state of being that permits its existence. You do not manifest things, you manifest states. Things only come as the natural outpicturing of the state you occupy. Each state has its own conditions, its own emotions, its own outcomes. When you say, I am, you are not just making a statement, you are stepping into a specific arrangement of consciousness. That arrangement, that feeling, that inner atmosphere will determine everything that follows. There are infinite states, and you are free to choose among them. There is a state where you are wealthy, and a state where you are in lack, a state where you are loved, and a state where you are ignored, a state where you are confident, and one where you are full of doubt. None of these states are more real than another. They exist now, and they remain in potential until you occupy one. Once you do, the world must conform. The people you meet, the opportunities that appear, the moods you feel, and the events that unfold will all reflect that state. You may think you are trying to get something, but you are only ever shifting into a version of yourself that has it. This is why effort often fails. You try to manipulate the outer world while remaining in the same inner state, but you cannot bring the results of one state into another. The conditions of wealth do not exist in the state of poverty. You must leave one to enter the other. The shift happens in consciousness. It is not about changing your outer actions first, but about changing your inner stance. If you were already the person you wish to be, how would you feel? What would you do? How would you carry yourself? Speak, breathe, walk. That is the state. And the moment you begin to feel it, even faintly, you begin to move into it. Your world is yourself pushed out. So the outer has no choice but to match what you accept as true within. If you dwell in the state of being rich, truly rich, not hoping, but knowing, then wealth in all forms must begin to find you. If you dwell in the state of being loved, you cannot avoid being cherished, because love flows from the state of being that already has it. You may ask, how do I change my life? And the answer is always the same. Change the state you are living in. Shift from the state of desiring to the state of having, from longing to fulfillment, from hoping to certainty. The change is internal, and it is everything. There is no power in the thing itself, only in the state from which you approach it. You are not here to make things happen. You are here to become the version of yourself in whom they are already true. The outer world simply follows. You cannot desire something and continue to see yourself as the one who lacks it. Desire is not enough. You must feel that the thing desired is already yours. Desire in itself is not fulfillment. It is only the starting point. To desire a thing is to acknowledge in some form that it is absent, but remaining in that sense of absence only extends the absence. You cannot continue to identify as the one who lacks and expect to receive. That is the great misunderstanding. Desire points you toward what is possible, but it is the assumption of its fulfillment that brings it into being. You must no longer see yourself as the seeker. You must become the one who has found, the one who no longer hopes, but lives in the confidence that it is done. This shift is subtle, but it is everything. Until that shift is made, you remain at a distance from your desire. You may dream about it, talk about it, wish for it, but it cannot be yours while you continue to believe it is not. The world does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are conscious of being. If you are conscious of being in need, then need is what will surround you. If you are conscious of having received, then reception is what must unfold. This is not about pretending. It is not about fooling yourself. It is about feeling the reality of your desire so completely that it becomes natural, familiar, yours. To feel it real is to step into the state where your desire is no longer a question but a fact, not something coming, but something present. You do not wait for the external to give you permission to believe. You believe first, and then the outer world follows suit. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot believe in lack while hoping for abundance. You cannot dwell in the feeling of loneliness while asking to be loved. The two are incompatible. You must leave the old state behind and enter into the new one with your whole being. The moment you feel that you have it, something shifts. The need to try, to chase, to beg begins to dissolve. And in its place comes a calm, knowinga, quiet certainty that what you have accepted inwardly must express outwardly. Desire may lead you to the door, but it is the feeling of possession that opens it. You do not need to force anything. You only need to change your inner conviction. Begin to walk, talk, and think from the end, not toward it. Move as though the thing you desire is already part of your life. Let it saturate your thoughts, your reactions, your inner conversations. This is the only real creative act, to become inwardly the one who already is. The moment you stop desiring and start possessing in consciousness, the delay begins to dissolve. You have made the claim, and the world cannot deny it. What you assume to be true persistently, consistently becomes the world you live in. To live in the end is to embody the state of the person who already has what they desire. It is not enough to imagine, to wish, or to pray for the outcome you want. You must step into it as though it is already done, as though it is already manifested. You must feel it now, because the feeling is the secret. If you can truly experience the feeling of what you desire, then you have already moved into the state of its fulfillment. To step into the state of the winner is to leave behind the state of the one who is still trying, still waiting, still hoping. The moment you stop hoping for a result and start living as though it has already occurred, you shift the entire momentum of your life. You no longer chase the result, you embody the result. The reality you are seeking already exists, not in the future, but in this very moment, in the inner realm of imagination, and the key to unlocking it is to assume the feeling of having already achieved it. When you assume the state of the winner, you must fully enter into that state with every part of you. The moment you can imagine the celebration, the joy, the relief, and the satisfaction of having won, whether it be the jackpot, a promotion, or any desire you hold, you are no longer seeking it. You have it. And once you have it in consciousness, the outer world must adjust itself to reflect this new inner truth. It cannot do otherwise. Feel the weight of the victory in your hand, the weight of the money you've won, or the contract you've signed, or the love that is already yours. Hear the sounds of the celebration that follows a cheer, a shout of triumph, the laughter of joy. You must hear it as though it is happening now. Let it fill your senses, and let it become as real as your present physical surroundings. This is not about waiting for the outer world to show you signs. This is about living as though the world has already confirmed your desire. You may wonder how to bridge the gap between what you want and where you are now. The bridge is simple. Assume that you already have it, and live from that state. When you are in the state of the winner, you no longer feel deprived or lacking. There is no room for doubt, no room for questions. You have crossed the line from hope to certainty, and certainty is the most powerful state you can occupy. Walk as the winner, speak as the winner, and think as the winner. This is not a game of pretend. This is the law in action. You are not waiting for the world to change. You are changing the inner world, and the outer world must conform. You are already the winner. The ticket, the success, the fulfillment is already yours, as sure as the sun rises in the sky. When you can inhabit that state, feel the victory, feel the joy, feel the certainty of success you have already won, and it will only be a matter of time before your outer world catches up with the inner reality you have created. When you plant a seed in the ground, you do not dig it up the next day to see if it's growing. You trust in the process. You understand that the seed contains within it the blueprint for its own fulfillment. It knows what to do. Your role is simply to plant it and allow it the time it needs to break open and unfold into what it was always meant to be. Yet, many people treat their desires the same way they treat a seed. They plant it, but then dig it up every day, checking for signs of growth, questioning whether it will sprout, and wondering when it will happen. This is the act of disbelief. Disbelief is the only thing that causes delay. It is not the world that is holding back your desires, and it is not time that is the problem. Time is a concept of the physical world. The true law operates outside of time, in the realm of consciousness. When you plant a desire and then question its coming, you are not allowing it to grow. You are doubting that it will ever come, and it is your doubt that holds it in place, preventing it from sprouting. If you were to trust in the process, to believe it is already done, the results would appear effortlessly, as natural as a seed growing into a tree. When you trust the law, you stop asking when it will happen, because you know it is already done. You are not waiting for the world to change. You are not looking for external signs or evidence that things are moving. You know that once you have planted the seed in your consciousness, it has already begun to work. The world must align with your belief. It must. This is the law, and it does not fail. The moment you assume that your desire is already fulfilled, you enter the state of having it. You cease the struggle of wondering how or when it will come, because you live in the certainty of its manifestation. The world must then bring forth the conditions that will allow your desire to take form in the physical world. But as long as you continue to question, to wonder, or to doubt, you remain in the state of lack, the very state that delays the unfolding of your desire. Think of the seed once more. Once you have planted it, your responsibility is to trust. You must trust the unseen forces at work. Trust the natural order that is taking place beneath the surface. If you persist in your assumption of fulfillment, it cannot fail to manifest. But if you continue to dig it up with your doubts, asking, is it working? Where is it? Why isn't it here yet? You are disrupting the process. The only thing that ever prevents manifestation is your disbelief. Believe first, and the manifestation follows. Trust in the law of assumption. Trust in the seed you've planted in consciousness, and know that its manifestation is inevitable. When you cease questioning, when you stop digging up the seed, you will find that the world around you begins to reflect what you have already assumed to be true. The process has already begun. The seed is already breaking open. It is only a matter of time before it bursts forth into the physical world, where you can see it with your eyes and touch it with your hands. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up the next day to see if it's growing. You understand the natural process, that growth happens in its own time. The same principle applies to your desires. When you plant a seed of desire in your consciousness, you must trust it. You must give it the time and space to germinate and unfold. If you keep pulling up your thoughts and checking to see if your desire has manifested, you are interrupting the process. You are doubting its ability to grow. The key to manifestation is faith. Not faith as the world often teaches, as a waiting game where you pray for something to happen, but the kind of faith that trusts the process. The kind of faith that knows that once a seed is planted, it's only a matter of time before it comes to fruition. You must believe in the unseen forces at work, in the law that governs the universe. Once you decide what you want and plant that desire firmly in your mind, you must allow it to grow, and that means you must stop doubting. You cannot doubt the seed you have planted, for doubt is the very thing that disrupts the process. Most people are conditioned to expect results immediately. They want to see things manifest right away, and when they don't, they begin to question. They dig up the seed, repeatedly checking to see if it's growing, wondering why it hasn't come to fruition yet. But the law of manifestation does not work on a timeline dictated by human impatience. It works in its own timing, and that timing is always perfect. Trust is everything. Once you've made your assumption and placed your faith in it, you must let go. You must release all need for immediate results. The belief that you can force the process is an illusion. Trusting means accepting that your desire is already done in the unseen world. The moment you accept it, it begins to work on your behalf. But as long as you hold on to doubt, you keep pulling the seed out of the ground to inspect it. You halt the process. Every moment spent doubting is a moment where the seed is not allowed to grow. Every second you spend wondering when it will happen is a second spent not trusting that it already is happening. The law of assumption is not about forcing things into place. It is about knowing that once you assume it to be true, the world must reflect it. This is not about inaction. It is not about sitting idly by waiting for the universe to deliver your desires. It is about shifting your consciousness, changing the state you occupy to one where what you want has already been fulfilled. It is about stepping into the feeling of the wish fulfilled and living from that state, not waiting for the outer world to validate it. So, when you plant the seed of desire, let it be. Trust it. Live in the assumption that what you have asked for is already done. Keep your thoughts aligned with that belief and act as though it is already part of your reality. The moment you trust the seed, you allow it the time it needs to grow into the full manifestation of your desire. No need to dig it up and check for signs. It is already working. And just as a seed naturally grows into what it was always meant to be, so too will your desire manifest effortlessly in its perfect time. The world around you is not the cause of your experience. It is the effect. It is a reflection of what you believe. what you feel, and what you assume to be true on the inside. When you change your internal state, the world around you must change. This is the most fundamental law of creation. The outer world, with all its people, places, and events, is not a random series of occurrences. It is the exact reflection of your inner state of consciousness. You are not creating the world, you are changing the way you perceive it. Think about it. When you look at the world, you are not seeing things as they are. You are seeing them through the lens of your own beliefs and assumptions. If you believe that people are kind, you will see kindness. If you believe that you are poor, you will see lack. If you believe that you are unloved, you will see rejection. But all of this is a projection. It is not the objective reality, but a reflection of your subjective reality. Your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions form the lens through which you perceive the world. Change what you believe about yourself and the world will change accordingly. If you assume that you are a success, that you are wealthy, that you are loved, your experience will shift to reflect those assumptions. Your life will no longer be governed by the external world or by circumstances. Instead, it will be shaped by your inner convictions. This is not to say that the outer world is an illusion, or that it doesn't matter. It is simply a mirror of what you hold within. When you begin to change the way you see the world, when you begin to assume the reality you desire, everything outside of you must shift to match that new inner state. It may not happen overnight, but it is inevitable. The external world must conform to the beliefs you hold internally, because the external is a direct outgrowth of your internal state. For example, if you feel that you are constantly struggling with money, that is the reality you will see reflected back to you. But if you shift your internal assumption and begin to feel that you are wealthy, that you are abundant, that you are financially secure, the world will begin to mirror that shift. Opportunities will appear where none existed before. People will act in ways that align with your new belief. Money will flow to you as if by magic. This is the power of assumption. The law operates on your assumptions, not on your external circumstances. If you assume that you are successful, the world will begin to reflect success to you. If you assume that you are happy and loved, the world will start to show you love and happiness. The outer world is not something you are powerless to change. You are simply changing your inner state, and when that shifts, the world around you must shift to align with it. This is why the key to transformation is not in changing the world, but in changing yourself. When you change your internal beliefs, your assumptions, and your feelings, you change your world. And as your world changes, the people, events, and circumstances around you will align with your new internal state. It is not magic. It is simply the law in action. The world is a reflection. And when you change what you hold within, the reflection must change as well. When you make an assumption, you are setting the stage for creation. But the key to seeing that assumption manifest is persistence. It's not enough to momentarily believe in your desire. It's not enough to think, I want this, and then allow doubt to creep in when the external world does not immediately confirm it. The secret is in the persistence of your assumption. You must continue to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, regardless of what your senses show you. Imagine this for a moment. You have decided that you want something. Perhaps it's a job, a relationship, or a certain amount of wealth. You've mentally rehearsed your desire, and for a moment you can feel what it would be like to already have it. But then the world presents itself to you as it has always been. It shows you lack, it shows you struggle, it shows you absence. This is where most people give up. They begin to doubt the assumption. They look at their current reality and decide that it cannot possibly change. But it is in that very moment that your persistence matters most. The key to bringing your desire into physical reality is to hold steadfast to your assumption. Do not let the outer world or the passage of time sway you. Assume the end result, the desired state, and persist in that assumption. In the face of doubt, in the face of lack, in the face of appearances. You must remain firm. You must hold on to the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. This persistence does not mean forcing the outcome or trying to manipulate the world. It means remaining faithful to your inner vision, even when the physical evidence suggests otherwise. When you persist in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, you are choosing to believe that what you desire is already yours, despite any external appearances. The external must conform to your inner state, and if you persist in your assumption, the outer world will inevitably reflect it. Think of a sculptor working with clay. The artist does not give up after the first few rough strokes. Even when the clay is not yet shaped into the vision they have in their mind, they persist. With each stroke, the clay moves closer to the intended form. In the same way, when you persist in your assumption, the universe begins to shape itself around it. Every thought, every belief, every action taken in alignment with your assumption reinforces the creation of your desire. The external world will challenge you. It will show you the opposite of what you desire. To test your faith, it will ask, do you truly believe? And in that moment, it is your persistence that determines the outcome. You must stay with it. You must continue to feel the reality of your desire even when it feels distant or when things seem to fall apart. The law of assumption is a law of persistence. It is not about getting things right once and waiting for them to appear. It's about living in the end result and continuing to live in that assumption over and over again until the outer world matches the inner vision. The assumption is the seed you plant. Persistence is the water, the sunlight, and the nourishment it needs to grow. You must stay with it, and eventually your desire will bloom into your reality. This is the power of persistence in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. In conclusion, the journey to manifesting your desires is not one of waiting for the external world to change, but of transforming your inner state of consciousness. The world around you reflects your internal beliefs, assumptions, and feelings. By shifting your perception, assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and persisting in that assumption, you can change your reality. The key is to plant the seed of your desire, and then trust in the process, allowing it to grow without doubt or impatience. Disbelief is the only thing that causes delay, and when you trust, the manifestation is inevitable. As you persist in embodying the state of the person who already has what they desire, you are not waiting for something to happen. You are living from the end result. You begin to see the world in a new way, one where your desires are already a part of your reality. The outer world must conform to the inner state you cultivate. The more you live in the assumption of fulfillment, the more your external world will reflect that assumption, bringing your desires into your experience. You do not need to force or chase your desires, for the process is already at work once you assume the end result. Trust in the unseen, and know that your desires are already fulfilled in the inner world. Just as the seed contains the blueprint for its growth, your assumptions hold the blueprint for the manifestation of your desires. By living with unwavering faith, persistence, and trust in the process, you will see your inner vision manifest in the external world. The only thing required is to stay true to the assumption of the wish fulfilled and allow the natural law to bring your desires into form.